for rational functions. So we're going to start with that a rational expression is simplified form if it's blank and blank have no common factors. What do you think? Numerator and denominator. Okay? All right, we're going to start with number 1 here to simplify. So the first thing we're going to do is factor this top right here. X squared minus 2x minus 15. We're going to get x and x, so it's going to be x plus 3 and x minus 5 because it's the only way we're going to get a negative 2. X squared minus 9 gives me x plus 3 and x minus 3, right? Because it's the difference of two squares. Now I'm going to times that by x minus 3 over x minus 5. Okay, my number under example. Okay, now I can cancel stuff. I've got x minus 5 and x minus 5. I've got x minus 3 and x minus 3. I've got x plus 3 and x plus 3. So this ends up, the whole thing ends up being 1. Okay, don't forget that it's 1, not 0, 1. Now let's talk about again, what can x not be? X cannot be negative 3, positive 3, and positive 5. Because what would happen? You'd have a 0 in the denominator, and you can't divide by 0.
1. Do you have to write that?
Yes.
Wait, so...
How did I figure out this so quickly? This part? Okay, I just did the opposite of these. So if this is positive 3, it's negative 3. If this is negative 3, it's positive 3. Okay? So let's do one more example. I'm going to do this just off to the side to figure out what x can't be. What if I had... What can x not be? For just this right here.
5.
So let's try that again. We have 2x plus 1. How would that, what would I multiply, what would I plug in for x to get 0 for that part? 0 would give me 1. So if we think of it this way, we have 2x plus 1 equals 0. So 2x equals negative 1.
0.5.
So x equals negative 1/2. So x cannot be negative 1/2 either. So it's really easy unless there's a number in front of your x, and then it just takes a little extra second. Okay?
You just make it equal to 0.
Yep. All right, let's look at number 2.
Wait.
Number 2. Okay. So this is what I call one term. See, they each have one term on top and bottom of their fractions. Right? Ladies and gentlemen who happen to be on their cell phones for some reason while I'm trying to teach? Okay. So, since they do not have more than one term, you're not factoring anything. You're not pulling anything out. So I'm just getting rid of my x's and my y's and all of that. Okay. So first, this has 3 x's here, and this has 1, so I'm just going to leave it as 2 x's. This has 1 y up here, but 2 down here, so I'm just going to leave it as 1 y. I'm going to do the same thing for here, and then I'm going to cross-reduce as well. This has 1 y, and this has 2 y's, the 3 y's, so I'm just going to change it to 2. Okay? This has, how many x's do I have in top now? I have 6, but I have none on the bottom, so I can't cancel anything. I have 2 y's, y squared, on top, and I have 1 y on the bottom. So I'm going to cancel out this y and change this to just 1 y.
Wait, why?
I'm just getting rid of them. Okay? Now.
Hold on. So.
All right, guys, you gotta follow.
I'm following.
Okay, let's try this again. I'm just going to rewrite the problem and do it again, but we got to pay attention. Okay, so this one has 3x to the third on the top, right? So I'm going to cross it off and change it to x squared because I divided it by this x down here that I'm not crossing off. There's one y on top here but 2 on the bottom. So I'm going to cross this y off and just put 1 on the bottom. So far, so good. Okay. For here, I've got 4 x's on the top, nothing on the bottom. I've got y cubed on the top, just y on the bottom. So I'm going to cross this off and change it to y squared. Cross this y off. So far, so good. Now I'm going to go across. Okay? So I've got x squared and x to the fourth, but nothing on the bottom. So I can't cross any of my x's off, correct? Okay. Now I'm going to cancel out my y's because I've got a y on the bottom. Now I only have one y on the top. Okay.
That makes sense.
8 times 7 is 56. And I have x to the 6th y. 2 times 4 is 8. 56 divided by 8 is 7. So I have 7x to the 6th y. What can x not be and what can y not be?
-8.
Try again. Look at the bottom of my original problem.
Oh.
X can't be 0 and y can't be 0. That's it.
I don't get it. Why? How do you
So
tell me that part?
they're by themselves, right? The
Right.
x's and y's, there's nothing being added or subtracted to them, so it's
Right.
just 0 that it can't be.
What's the answer?
7x to the 6th y, where x and y can both not be 0. All right, I am changing the problem for the last one. Instead of a multiplication problem, we're going to do division because you have division on your homework. Okay? So I'm changing this to a division problem. All right. The first thing I'm going to do is I am going to simplify these, like, factor them or whatever, take something out. But when I do it, remember, I'm going to switch this one. And I don't like rewriting it, so I'm just going to put that little arrow there to remind me. So what can I take out of 3 minus 3x squared? That's 3. And I'm left with 1 minus x squared. Okay? This is a perfect square. The first thing I'm going to do is I don't like it written this way, so I'm going to take out a negative, and I'm going to change it to negative 3x squared minus 1, which becomes negative 3x minus 1, x plus 1. So this is all stuff you could do in your head, but I get to here.
No, I don't even know what you did.
I took a negative out because I know it's gonna cancel stuff out in the future, and I don't like the 1 being first. I like x's being first.
There's not a 1.
No, you have to take that negative out of there and change them all in front of the x squared. Because this would be negative x squared plus 1. So I took a negative out to give me x squared minus 1.
Why is the 1 a negative?
Because when you have to take it out of both things. Okay. All right. So let's look at the bottom. We've got x squared plus 4x minus 5. What does that turn into? X plus 5, x minus 1. And then we're going to times it by, make sure the 3x is on top, and on the bottom I'm going to put what?
X minus. Oh, so fast.
X minus 4, x plus 5. Okay. Now let's talk about what we can cancel.
Wait, why is 3x on the top?
Because it's division, and when you divide, you flip the second one and multiply straight across. See how the sign right here changed from division to multiplication? Yep.
How do you get so it's x plus 5 and x minus 1 for the first one, but what about the full x? How would you get that?
So 5 times x is 5x, right?
Right.
X times negative 1 is negative 1x.
Yep.
5x minus 1x is,
4.
so that's where the 4x came from, in the middle. All right, so I'm going to cancel x minus 1 and x minus 1. That's the only thing I can cancel, and then I'm going to get negative 3 times x plus 1 times 3x. You can't because they're on the same, one's not on top, one's not on the bottom. So you have to keep both of them. All over x plus 5 times x minus 4 times x plus 5. I would then simplify the top. 3 gives me negative 3x minus 3 times 3x, which gives me negative 9x squared minus 3x all over x plus 5 times x minus 4 times x plus 5. I just multiplied these together. I distributed this, and once I did that, I distributed this.
Wait.
That's all I did. Just distribution.
Okay, but then how did you still end up with minus 3x?
I should know. It should be 9. You're right. And then I could simplify this more, right? Because I could bring out a negative 9. So that's negative 9. I could bring out a negative 9x, which would leave me with x minus 1 over x plus 5 times x minus 4 times x plus 5. Still can't cancel anything, but this is my final. What can x not be? Make sure you go all the way back to the beginning because there's one extra that's not here.
0.
It can't be. It could be 0. 0 plus 5 is just 5. So it can't be 4. It can't be negative 5, and it can't be 1. And that 1 is from way back over here, but you still don't want 1 in there because it would mess up your whole problem if you plugged it in. Yes?
So, the negative 9x squared minus 9x.
Yeah.
And then you put negative 9x.
Oh, this should be a positive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This worked.
Good catch. Any other questions about this before we move on? This one right here? From right here, John. Because if I plugged in a 1 right here for my x, it would mess up my whole problem and I couldn't get to where I wanted to be, even though it simplifies out.
Do I have to go this one?
Okay,
Wait.
yes. So I will leave this up here, but I am going to stop the recording. You have classwork and homework to work on for tonight. Classwork and
Which one is classwork? Which one is one?
it says on the top.